It is designed to maximize your utilization in real time for labor, assets, documentation, forms, customer service scheduling, and dispatch. It is a product that was built for your customer's business. We built it with a very intuitive design. And of course, that will be ultimately judged by you after you see this. It's a web-based platform, no server installation necessary. Self-service onboarding in minutes rather than days. It's very, very intuitive to set up. Very configurable modules. So we talked about it being simple. It's very simple, but the power is in the configurability of those modules. Very flexible licensing, and we really designed this to be horizontal and work across multiple industries. The issue we're trying to solve, we know that all of the businesses that you service, and your businesses included, have scattered peoples, things, information all over the place. And all of those scattered things are disconnected. They're in their little silos of information out there. And our goal was to take all that siloed mobile data information and bring it into the power of one platform. One login, one database, one vendor, all integrated modules. The WorkMax modules that are available are time. We've got assets or equipment, forms, service and dispatching, and insights. All of those modules together, of course, make up what we call the complete suite. We mentioned flexible licensing. The nice thing about WorkMax is that you can mix and match your licensing. If you need more time than assets, that's great. If you need service, if you need forms, if you need insight, or if you want complete suites, the flexibility of making the product fit your business is there. It works on any device, anytime, anywhere. It is a cloud-based solution, and it works on any web browser, and it will work. We have mobile applications out there that work on any Android or Apple device out there. When you're using data entry, there's a couple different ways you can do data entry. If you are a remote employee and you want to access the web and access what we call our control center, you can enter information directly into the web using a tablet that's got internet access. We've tested it on the browsers there, and it works extremely efficiently. And of course, browsers on PCs do as well. For those mobile employees that work disconnected or want to work on a native application, we have mobile devices out there, as we said before, that are on Android or iOS devices. When we talk about going out into the world, we know that there are places where there are no signals. It does not matter to us. No signal, no problem. All of our mobile devices out there that work on the Android and iOS will work in connected or disconnected mode. All the forms, all the time, all the information that we need to capture out in the field can be captured. And when we do get a signal, we can synchronize that back up into the web or into the cloud. Data management does require access to the internet and access to the cloud. This is our control center. In order to get in there and manage that, as long as you've got internet access, you can access that from anywhere. So let's talk specifically about the modules that are available to you. Let's talk about time. First of all, things you probably expect. We do have GPS location stamps. Every time we clock in, enter time in the field, the GPS stamp is attached to that time record. We have a function to turn this on or turn it off, but if you want a picture taken every time someone clocks in, we'll give you the ability to have photo facial authentication to make sure that that's the person that's clocking in. We have extensive capabilities on time records to do calculations. Should the ERP system that you're working with not have all the extensive rules for pay groups and overtime rules and shift rules, we can either feed the ERP or the payroll system raw time, or we can feed them already calculated overtime based upon the rules we have in here. Very powerful based upon that. We also have full time zone support, which means that if you have a customer who clocks in one time zone and clocks out on another time zone, most systems either give them one less hour of time or one more because it goes off of the time on the device that they're using. We calculate it based upon GM time, and so our time is always accurate no matter what time zone they clock in and clock out of. We support multiple workflows for time entry. Very, very powerful from this side. And of course, last but not least, It better integrate with payrolls. And so we've got extensive integration capabilities built into the product. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to switch out into the website. You can go into workmax.com, hit the login button, and you can log into WorkMax right straight from there. So now we're into this. This is WorkMax. WorkMax, as I said, is a modular-based system. You can see up here in the upper left-hand corner, we've got time, we've got assets, we've got forms, we've got service, we've got insight, and we've got a report. So I'm going to click on the time. And at this point, you'll see a few time records that are sitting into this. This is my control center. So this is where I'm accessing the cloud at this point. So any time that I've collected from the field is now flowed up into this particular time editor. You'll see that I have 4 records in there, and I'll tell you why I've got 4 records, and we'll talk a little bit about those. The first 2 records up there, I clocked in. Those are called real-time records. And if you notice down here, on this first record, it's got yellow in it. I clocked in at 9:05, and I clocked into drywall. And then at about 9:29, I clocked into painting. So it gives me a clock out. Now, one thing that's very, very powerful about the time capture in here is when I'm clocking in and clocking out, if I clock into one task or phase or cost code, I clock into another one, I don't have to clock out to the previous one. A lot of systems make you clock out of your previous task before you can clock into your next task. We don't do that. But what that yellow indicates is I clocked into another task and the system automatically clocked me out of drywall and clocked me into painting. Therefore, it's saying that this was a system-generated stamp. So what I'm going to do to kind of show you is that I'm going to do another real-time stamp inside of here, and I'm going to go onto my mobile device and show you that. So what I'll do is I'll share my mobile device, and we'll see that up here. And so this is the mobile device, and like I said, this device can run connected or disconnected. And so I'm going to pin in as myself. I'll put 1, 2, 3, 4 in there, and I'm going to clock into another task. Now at this point, I can clock in other employees, so I can see a list, and I can say I need to clock in Bill, John into a task at the same time. I can also have groups that I can clock into. But at this point, I'm only going to clock into one other task myself. So I'm just going to hit the in button down on the bottom, and I'm going to pick tile. So I'm going to confirm that down on the bottom. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to synchronize that information back to the web. And you can see down on my screen, it's synchronizing. It's looking on my device and saying, what information's out here that I need to send back to the cloud? And so it's taking every change that I've done on this device and sending it back here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here to my time, and what you'll see is that timestamp is now entered into my time editor. And so instead of having one yellow entry, I now have 2, because this is a system-generated stamp. It clocks me out of that one automatically and clocks me into the next one. Now I want to show you some indicators on the left-hand side that shows me exactly what's going on. Each one of these records has a little phone next to it. It also says that there's a little globe, which means there was a GPS stamp that was captured on that. And I can look at this and see that I've got a GPS stamp on this one. Up here, I've got the same 2, but I've also got a third one. The third little red flag indicates that this is an incomplete entry, which just means I'm still working on tile. It says, what are you working on? I haven't clocked out of that yet. At the end of the day, I can do a self clock out, and it'll finish up all my time records. Anytime you want to look at this, I can see exactly where I clocked in this morning. So as I scroll down here on the bottom, you can see that there's a little GPS map, and it will show me exactly where I clocked in this morning, so you can see that I clocked there. Anytime I want, I can go back up here. I can see every time I have a GPS stamp, I have that information there. So powerful workflow that says I can have real-time clock in. I can do it as an individual. I can be a supervisor and clock in real time from task to task to task during the day, clock out at the end of the day, and I have everything divided up very efficiently to send over to payroll, so I have my true job costing over there. Now I want to move on to a second workflow that we're capable of doing. You'll see that I've got 2 time records down here, one for Russell Hanson, one for John Smith. You can see that on September 22nd, they clocked in at 6:48, they clocked out at 3:04. Because what I wanted them to do is I wanted them to clock in real time in the morning, clock out real afternoon. So I want my real time. But what I want to be able to do is say, I know that they worked on multiple tasks during the day, so I want to take that time, that real time in the morning, that real time at night, and I want to divide it up later. So we have this thing called allocation. So I'm going to select those two records, and I'm going to go down and hit the Allocate Selected button. So now down here on the bottom, it gives me those two time records and says, what would you like to do with those? I'm going to hit the New button, and we're going to say at 6:48 to 10 a.m., they actually worked on, we'll say that they worked on some concrete forming. And they put in 125 linear feet of concrete forming. And oh, by the way, they needed to have some compressor or some piece of equipment. These assets are completely user definable. We'll talk about that a little bit. But let's say that on that time record, they were using a piece of equipment. Now, the value of this is that at the same time I'm entering this time record and entering the piece of equipment, now I've got operation time on equipment for billing purposes. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and you'll see that I get a graphical view of that down here. And see that it says 6:48 to 10. Should I go and say, you know, I really need that to be 10:30? Take this and drag it right across, and you have a visual representation. It now says, okay, we're going to go to 10:30. I want to take the next section of that time and divide it up. I'm going to hit the New button, and we'll say from 10 a.m. they were working on something else. They were working on electrical. They're pretty skilled. They went from forming to electrical. We'll say we have 125 square feet of that. We'll say we had to use a generator for some to power my tools, and I'm going to hit save on this. And now you see I've got that distributed. You'll see that that last little bit from 2 to 304, I'm going to leave the same. I could distribute that out and create another entry, but if I don't touch those, they'll stay original based upon what I have, which is site work excavation up here. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and instead of having 2 records up there, you'll now see that I have 6 records up there. And there's an indicator of what I just did with those records. You can see that on Russ Hansen, I switched over to concrete forming. I said at 6:48 to 10:30, they were doing this. That's 3 hours and 42 minutes of time. And there's a little A next to that on the indicator that says I allocated that time. So just to kind of recap, I have real time where I can literally every task during the day have them clock in, clock out, at the end of the day, clock out of that thing, and everything's already divided. I can also do real time in the morning, real time in the afternoon, come back in and divide it up this way. Now there's another third way that people like to use as well. It's called a digital timesheet. And it says some people want to enter their time at the end of the day. They want to enter all the time at the end of the week, okay? And so we have a really nice tool for that as well. I'm going to go back to the mobile device, and we'll go ahead and we'll share the screen on this one. And we'll clock in to a supervisor. So Don Phillips is a supervisor, and he's got a crew out there that he needs to put time in at the end of the week. So I'm going to hit my clock in button. I'm going to hit the other employees, and I'm going to go down here and I'm going to select Steve, Sandy, and Russell. And I'm going to hit my next button, and it says, I want to just set some default values for this timesheet. We're going to show you how we're going to override that, but these are just the defaults. And let's say that this is for the week of August 24th. Okay, so now I've got it in here. It's going to default to Riverton Hospital job. We're going to go down here. We'll say that is in fact August 24th. We'll set the date. I'm going to do this for 5 days. I could do it for 3. I could do it for 7. I can do it for however many days you want. Default start time's 8 a.m. We're going to work 8 hours. The default phase or cost code, let's say that this is going to be duct work. That's great. And now down on the bottom, I'm going to create the timesheet. When I do that, it now says there's my timesheet. So I can look at the defaults across the top in green. I can look at all my employees. And by default, I've set these guys all up for 8 hours. But I'm going to make some changes. Because on Tuesday, they really just didn't work on ductwork. They worked on some other things. So I'm going to click on that little ductwork with my finger, and I'm going to go down here and say that they worked on refrigeration. So now that you can see that everybody on that day worked on refrigeration. And actually, on Wednesday, though, Steve Simpson did more than that. On Wednesday, Steve Simpson didn't work 8 hours. He actually worked 12 hours. So I'm going to change that to 12 hours. And he even did something different than everybody else did on that day. So I'm going to hit the little arrow next to that 12 hours, and it's going to say, what did he do? Well, actually, he only worked 7 hours on that particular duct work, but he worked the other 5, and he even went over to another job. So I'm going to click on that little job number, and I'm going to say he went over to Costco on the warehouse, and he didn't do duct work. He actually went over here and did concrete. So now I've got his time broken up here, and when I save that, I now have all of that distribution here. So now you see visual cues up here saying that you've now got some breakdowns inside of that thing. Very simple to do. At the end of the day, when Don, or at the end of the week when I do all that distribution, I can go to Don and say, Don, I want you to sign off on this thing. I can have that signed off. And when I do that, I can see who signed off. You see the little red, yellow check marks there on the side. If I'm the supervisor and I want to sign off on all this time, I can manage this thing. I can sign off on this thing. I can sign off all those time records, and you'll see that all that information gets put into there. Now I save that timesheet, and all that time now goes back out here. So when I synchronize that, all of the information off of this device will now go back into the cloud, all distributed out of there. So very simple. So just to kind of recap on this, we've done real time, clock in, clock out as an individual, or I can clock in and clock out people. I can clock in the beginning of the day, clock out at the end of the day, distribute that, or I can actually enter time at the end of the day, end of the week, end of a time frame, whatever it is. So now when I go back over into the cloud and I go to my time editor, you'll now see all of those time records distributed out there from all the different timesheets. So now you go back down in here and you can see all that information, the ductwork, different things like that, all coming from the digital timesheet. Once again, had I had that digital timesheet and I want to do further allocation, I can still take those times, use the allocation function inside of that. So that's a little overview on the time. Let's jump back into our presentation over here and move on to the next module. We know that the number one cost in your business, in your company's businesses, are typically labor. The number two is probably their assets and pieces of equipment. Our goal on assets is to protect their investment. We want to make sure that that they're keeping track of where their equipment is and making sure that we're protecting that. Our goal on this thing is to track asset life cycle utilization. We also have a very powerful tool for accountability out there with the employees of a mobile asset and transfer and assignment capabilities. We give people instantly capabilities to find assets by barcodes, serial numbers, and we'll show you a really powerful way that at any time they can know exactly where each asset is. So let's take a look at that. Let's jump back into, see if I can get back into this. There we go. Let's go back into and look at assets. Now once again, these are what are called flex fields. Anytime I want, I can rename this. If you want to call this equipment, if you want to call this instruments. When we talked about being multiple industries, I can name these fields so that they talk terminology to the customers that you're servicing out there. This list is a list of equipment. It could be tools. It could be, like I said, instruments. It's a database of information. What we can do with those pieces of assets or equipment is three different things. We can assign time. As you saw, I entered time against an employee. I also entered time against the asset at the same time, so that I can calculate true operating hours versus just having a particular piece of equipment on a site. I can also assign an asset to a job. Very simple. I have this job usage up here. Anytime I want, I can create a new assignment. I can assign a piece of equipment to a particular project. So now I know where it's assigned to. I can also assign it to an employee. So if I have a set of tools, I start out with a new company, a new employee, and I've got a toolbox that needs to go in the back of their truck, and it's got a DeWalt drill, it's got a saw, or it could be medical instruments or whatever it might be. I can assign all of those to an employee at the same time. Anytime I need to go back and look at the reporting on this thing, I can go in here and see that. But I want to show you a powerful feature in Insight, because every time I assign one of these pieces of equipment to a particular job, it's going to map it for me. So I'm going to go to this thing called Insight. And what Insight does is it gives me a mapped view of all of the equipment and where it's assigned. Now the power of this is as I'm working through my project, I may need a backhoe, I may need a bobcat, I may need some sort of pieces of equipment. Instead of going and saying, pulling this all the way from the office, I may have one closer to me. So it's very simple to go up here and say, I need a loader. I'm going to go up here and say, type in loader, and it will come down and say there's 2 of them out there. They're both up here at Lone Peak Restoration. That's really close to my job. I'm going to call the foreman on the job and say, hey, is there any chance I can borrow one of those things for 2 hours? Take it over to my job, put it back over onto this other job instead of having to haul this a longer distance from the inventory. So what we're trying to do is not only locate your equipment, but make it much more efficient for you to find those pieces of equipment and get your jobs done quicker. We also have great reporting capabilities, and I'm going to go into an asset report, and I want to show you some functionality in this particular report that actually permeates all the other reports as well. So in this particular one, I may want to look at this. I am the asset manager in my company. And so I want to come in here and I want to track every single day. I just want to see what assignments have been happening, whether from employee to employee or whether someone has taken a piece of equipment out of inventory, whatever it might be. So in this particular thing, I can say I want to look at this by job, by device, by asset. I can look at this by employee, by division, lots of different ways that I can really pinpoint this down and drill down into this information. But maybe there's a selection of reports inside of here that as an asset assignment guy, I want to know exactly what's going on. So I can go out and auto send this report. And I can repeat this every day, okay? And I may want to send it on, not every day, but maybe I want to send it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so I can pick those parameters. And by the way, I want to send this at 5 a.m. every single morning so that when I get up in the morning, I can pull up my iPad, sit down, and see exactly what happened the previous day. I can pick one current day. I can pick other periods. I can say, let's go ahead and send this now out to Paul. I want to save it out to myself. And if you had an external stakeholder that wasn't in the system, I can put their email address in there. All of this capabilities for sending reports, scheduling those reports, they're all available in all the different reports across the system. All right, so with that, just to recap on assets, our goal is to protect those investments out there, make sure that people know where they are, make sure that they can efficiently get those moved around. We do support barcodes, all kinds of tracking capabilities on those pieces of equipment. And like I said, number 2 cost in the business is typically equipment. Our goal is to actually protect that investment as well. Let's jump back out and jump into the next module, forms. Forms is extremely powerful. Yet it's very easy to create forms. Very, very simple. Does not require a programmer to do this. Very, very easy. We tried to make this as intuitive as possible. In the forms, we give you the ability to do triggers and conditional forms. Intelligence in the forms, we can have a form drive another form based upon the question answered. We may need an additional form, so we can have forms drive other forms. We let you put grids in the forms with calculations. We let you capture signatures. One important thing, unlimited forms creation, unlimited form submissions. Also, back to the no service, no problem, you can still collect forms out on the mobile devices even if you do not have a connection to the internet. We collect rich media, pictures, videos. We let you take pictures. We let you sketch on top of pictures. We let you do free form sketches out in the field, and of course, synchronize all that information back into the cloud. So with that, let's take a look at the forms. I'll go back. I'll click on the Forms module. There's 3 options in Forms. You've got Submit, you've got Completed, and you've got Design. We're going to go in and we'll do a very simple form inside of here. I'll go down here and I'll select this one called the Safety Form. Anytime I want, I can associate any form with any different project, job. So I can go out here and select this. Any asset, any phase, cost code, whatever it might be, I can do these associations out there. And you'll see that when I submit these forms, that all those associations go along with that. I'll pick today's date, and we'll go down, we'll fill out some simple things. Will you be attending the safety meeting today? Yes, I will. Is there any reason you can't effectively perform your job today? Now, I want you to notice that when I select an answer to this and I select yes, another set of questions comes up. Yes, I can. There are reasons I can't do this. Okay? And now comes up and says, well, what are your reasons? Well, had a little bit too much and on medication at the same time. Okay, need to know that. Please check the safety equipment you have with you today, gloves, you know, I got my safety goggles and so forth, and I'll go ahead and sign this thing. Now the power of this is I'm doing this in the cloud, on the web, in our control center. I can enter information in the office on a form. That same form, though, deployed out to the field, has the exact same experience out there. So let's pull up the device and look at that exact same form on a device. I'll go back out here, I'll clock in, and I'll go out here to Forms. I'll pull up Forms and I'll hit the plus button down on the bottom, and I'll go pull that safety form. And I'll look at those form fields, and if you look at that, you'll see that the questions are exactly the same as you saw on the previous one. And when I do this, will you be attending the safety meeting today? Yes, I will. Okay, hit my yes button. Is there any reason you can't effectively perform your job today? Yes, there is. Tell me what they are. Well, I'm injured, I got alcohol, all of this good stuff. These screens will just scroll back and forth if the questions go longer, so it's really nice to manipulate back and forth. I've got a hard hat, I got safety goggles, I got steel-toed boots, and by the way, I want you to sign off on that. I can sign off on that as my employee out in the field, and now I've got that form there. When I save that form, I now can go out to that form, and what's really nice about that is if someone needs to see that right off the bat, I can click that little button, I can hit my email button, and it will pull up my email and create a PDF format of this thing and let me send this out right off of my device. Of course, it's going to synchronize back up into the web as well. Now, those are very simple examples of forms. I want to show you a little bit more complex because now we get in here and we can do some very nice form capabilities. I'm going to pull up a form that I did for a roofing contractor. And this was an actual form that they did. It's called the Platinum Agreement form. And inside of here, they would go out and they would do inspections on roof and all the damages that were happening on roof. And this was literally the questions they would ask. So we'll go out to one of these things. We'll come down here. We'll say, this is going to be my date. And now we start asking some very interesting questions. What's the roof category? Well, it's duration. Okay. Well, then I need to know what color it is, because if I'm going to repair it, I have to have my color. So there's all my color options for durations. If you go back in here, you'll notice I'm going to switch and I'm going to go to Berkshire. You'll now notice that the colors change because I have intelligence built into this thing. Do you need to tear anything off to repair this? Yes, I do. Okay, how many layers do you have to tear off? I'm going to tear off 2. Do you need to redeck? Yes, I do. What are your underlayment options? It's standard felt. As I move down here, you can see things like you can put grids in here. Do you need to replace any skylights? Yes, I do. I've got 2 of those skylights. What's the size of that? It's a CO4. Is venting needed? No. Low E-glass? Yes, it is. These grids are as big or as small as you want. 1 line, 20 lines, 100 lines. They grow with you, so you never have to set a predefined limit on these grids. 3 here, yes, no, and so forth. If I come down here and say on the low slope options, do you have any tear off there? If I say yes, it says I need to know the information. So all of this, you can be very extensive on these forms, very powerful thing that based upon one response, it says I need more information. So I can have very, very powerful capabilities on these forms. I'm going to show you one more option on this form, on the form capability. I have a clock out form, and some people like to, at the end of a shift, like their employees to fill out a set of questions. This is all liability. What we're trying to do is we're trying to mitigate risk in your companies. So I come back in here, and we'll go back in here and say, whoops, hang on here. Let's go back to the submitted. My apologies. Let's go back to the submit. I'll go back into this form, and we'll go back down to this clock out form. In this particular form, I'm going to pick today's date. We'll say it's today. Simple questions. Did you take all your breaks today? If I say yes, nothing happens. If I say no, I want to know why you didn't take your breaks today, because that's a liability issue for me as an employee, as an employer. If I do say yes, then they mark that off. Did you witness any safety violations today? If they say yes, I want to know what they are. If they say no, I don't need to know that. Were you injured on the job today? Why is that important? Because we know of contractors out there where on a Friday, an employee will walk away, go skiing for the weekend, on Monday come back injured and say they did it on the job. We want this for validation. We want this for to mitigate risk. Now, if I do say yes to this, I was injured on the job, probably the most logical next step is I want an injury form. Well, this is the power of forms. I said not only do we have those intelligent questions, but we can trigger forms based upon responses. Were you injured on the job today? Yes, I was. Okay, then I need your injury report. Fill it out. What happened on this thing? Could this incident have been avoided? This is a standard safety form. And instead of HR having to go and track down that employee and make sure that they got the injury form, it prompts them right away. That prompting happens on the mobile device as well. If I fill that out on the mobile device, clock out on the mobile device, and say, yes, I was injured on the job, it will pull up this form as well and ask me to fill the injury report out. Of course, that synchronizes back up into the web where HR then can immediately pick up that particular report and see that. All those submitted reports, when they're completed, they come up here into the completed reports. Anytime I want to look at them, I can sort them by project. I can filter these things. So filters are available throughout this whole thing. Look at only forms filled out from a start date to a certain date. Only look at injury reports, different things like that. And what do they look like? Here's a simple expense report. I filled out my expense report at Subway, Walmart, took pictures of my receipts. There they are before, signed off on that thing. That's great. Here's one for a company that wanted to have a daily construction report. What happened on the job today? What subcontractors came on here? What was the vendor names and what deliveries did they bring in here? What visitors came on site? What time? Here's some temperature information out here. The daily field report. It's exactly what they wanted. All that information, whether it's filled out in the control center or filled out in the device, is there in one central repository for me to see all that information. And of course, I can take and export that out. All the information in here can be pulled out and put into external information. So let's jump back in and keep going. Let's talk about service. We have a lot of customers out there that say, you're managing my resources, you're managing my labor, you're managing my assets, you're managing my forms. Can you give me a nice little service dispatching ticketing system out there? And so that's what we've done. What we did with this is we created a very intuitive visual scheduling and dispatch, drag and drop tickets, be able to take and extend those, very powerful employee smart search, we'll talk about that, integrated with your forms and assets. So anytime I do a ticket and I perform something for a customer, it will allow me to, it tells me what forms I need to fill out and what assets are needed to accomplish that. It's got complete mobile integration. So all of the tickets automatically notify me as a technician or an employee out on my mobile devices, and all that information can be collected and integrated back and forth between the ticket and the mobile device out there. We give you, once again, that rich media collection out there, your pictures, your videos, document the site before you worked on it, document the aspect after you worked on it so that you can actually see exactly what you've done in there. So with that, let's take a look at the service. I'll click on the service at this point. First thing you'll see when this comes up is you'll see a visual schedule of all of my technicians that I've got out here. And today, I've got a little bit of a busy work out there. I want to show you a couple menu selections across the top up there. I've got up here, this is showing me the schedule, so I've highlighted this in green. Anytime I want to just look at my tickets in a list, I can do that. And even though this is a web-based application, all of these tickets, all of these columns up here are sortable. Anytime I want to look at this by location, I can sort this by location. I can look at this by ticket number and so forth. You'll also notice right next to tickets, there's a little triage button, and there's a little 16 red up there. What triage means is that any time that there's a ticket that's past due, it may not have an employee assigned to it. I may have entered it into the system. It goes into triage if there's any issues whatsoever, and it says, I need to deal with these tickets. Now, I'll go back to the schedule view on here because I also want to draw your attention to a couple other things. You'll notice that there's colors out on the screen. Those colors represent, the lighter the color, the lower the priority. The darker the color, the higher the priority. Also, little flags inside of there indicate what status of those tickets are. For instance, you'll see a little legend up here that says if it's orange, it's not accepted. If it's gray, it's accepted. Red, it's rejected, in progress, or completed. So you can see not only the priority of all those tickets, but you can see exactly the status of those as well. I can look at this on this day view. Anytime I want, I can go to the calendar, switch days. I can also go back in here and look at this on a week view. Switching between weeks is extremely simple. It highlights the week. I can go back and forth to different weeks. I can also go inside of here and look at this on a map view. And at any time, I can go over here and say, I need to look at particular employees and see what they're doing out here. I can see that Russ has got a long way to go out here, and he's got a bit of travel to go on this thing from this particular standpoint. So I can go back to my day view and see all that information inside of there as well. So let's create a brand new ticket. All I have to do is oh, by the way, it's very simple out here. All of this gives you a little bit of a filter out here. I can go in here and look at different employee statuses. I can also sort this and say, only give me anything that's accepted, or maybe I want to look at this and say, give me all the tickets that are not accepted because I need to follow up on that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and create a brand new ticket. Very simple, click on that. It opens up a new ticket. I can move this window anywhere that I want. I may be entering information on this ticket, and all of a sudden something more urgent comes up. I can very quickly go over, enter a new one, and I can have as many tickets open as I want. I'm going to go ahead and enter a ticket here. This is a little wizard that I can go to screen 1, screen 2, or screen 3 and enter the information. Some people don't want to go through the wizard. They want to see all those fields at one time. I'm going to click on the little full screen and have all of those windows come up at the same time. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select a particular job, location. Once again, these are all renamable fields. And we'll say we're going to do some lighting maintenance over at the FedEx Kinko's and Draper. So I'll just call this one lighting. Whoops, see if I can spell. And I'll go down here. Here's my contact name in here. These category problems, these are 100% user definable. But before I select one of those things, I just want to draw your attention to some fields in this particular screen. I've got a skill set. I got priorities. I got estimated duration, scheduled start dates, scheduled dates, signed employees, associated media, needed assets, needed forms. Anytime I want, I can come down here and say there's going to be lighting maintenance. As soon as I select that, you notice that some of those fields pre-filled because I set those up ahead of time to say this is what typically happens. At any time, I can override those and say that I need more than an apprentice electrician on this one. My priority is low. I've got 2 hours I've slotted for this thing. And so let's go in here and say we're going to do this for 2 p.m. and we'll put this in for today. And now when I go to look at this assigned employees, this is what it does. This is the powerful employee search. Because what it's going to do is it's going to sort those employees by 3 criteria. Number 1 is who's got the skill set necessary to do this. Number 2, who's got room on their schedule to do it. And number 3, who is closest GPS-wise. Now, of course, if that's right, an immediate one that I need to do right now, it's going to look at where they are right now. In the future, if it'll look at where they schedule closest. I'm going to give this one to Pete Hickson, and I'll say, see Sally for details. Okay? And when I do that, I save that. It now goes out here, and it goes out onto my schedule. So what you'll see is that Pete will have this schedule out here at 2 p.m. And what's nice about this is that you can see that now it's out there at 2 p.m. Should I want to take that and say that's actually longer than that, I'm going to go here and I'm going to stretch that out. So I can stretch that out. I could also go in here and say, oh, you know what? I really want to give that to John Smith down there, which it really doesn't make sense, but I can go down here and I can just drag and drop this down here. It goes on to John Smith's at that point. So these tickets are very, very user-friendly, intuitive, drag and drop, very simple to do that. All of this information, when I do that, it's going out onto the device as well. So I can go out on the device. Let's go back on here. I'll pull up my device. And when I clock in on an employee, we'll clock in on 4567. I can go in here under service, and I can see now that I've got a pending ticket. I may have some accepted tickets. Because out here, if I wanted to, I needed to accept that, I can highlight this, hit the accept button down on the bottom. I could also reject it. And the nice thing about that is that immediately a rejected ticket goes back into that triage. And the reason why I may reject it is I may say, hey, I'm really sick, or something happened, or no, I can't do that ticket because I'm at the doctor, you guys forgot about it, whatever it might be. So it gives you nice tools inside of that. So I go down here and say, okay, now I've got this accepted. I've got to go to my next appointment. You can click on this and immediately see all the details on what's going on in here. I can update the ticket status. I can pick media. I can actually document this. I can fill out my forms. I can see all the details down here. Matter of fact, what's even nice about this is I can pick driving instructions and see exactly where I've got to go with a step-by-step or turn-by-turn step back inside of here. Anything that I update on this device updates the ticket information back on the screen over here. So once again, very intuitive, very nice, integrated with your assets and your forms. Okay, so let's jump back over here and let's talk about the next module, Insight. This is a very powerful application for mapping, a map view of employees, locations, where they are, map views of your assets. We already gave you a little bit of a preview of that thing. Map view of all your locations, your projects, and the ability to see exactly the status of each one of your projects. Real-time productivities. As we're collecting time, we also have the ability to collect production units. And if we're collecting time and production units, we know exactly what your productivities are, your current productivities versus your budgeted productivities. Not only we'll calculate that, but we will give you calculations based upon what productivity you're going to have to achieve to actually make up any deficits that you might have. Okay, we also give you very, very powerful media collection independent of forms, independent of your service tickets inside of this thing. So media is very powerful, from documentation and so forth. We also give you full weather tracking, where we can slot in and say every 15 minutes, give me an update on the weather in here. Once again, great risk mitigation inside of this thing. So at any time someone comes back and says, you need to redo the concrete because you poured it on a day that was too cold. Anytime you want, we keep a history of that. You go back to that day that you poured the concrete and say, no, it was actually 47 degrees. It was overcast and a little windy, but everything else was good for pouring concrete. So nice little tools like that. So to kind of give you an idea of that, Insights, we already gave you kind of a look at the assets. Anytime I want, I can see the mapping on the assets, where they are, look at how long they've been on that site and different things like that. We can also go into the job insight. This gives me a view of all of my different locations. Over on the left-hand side, you can see down here in the Costco warehouse, in the last 24 hours, and this is as close to real time, we're keeping a 24-hour snapshot for you. There were 3 employees that clocked in there. There were 6 assets assigned to that Costco warehouse in Orem. There's 5 on Riverton Hospital and so forth. Employee insight, once again, as real time as you're going to get. In the last 24 hours, I've got these employees clocked in. I can see exactly what they did. Anytime I want to look at the history, I can see exactly where they clocked in, what they did, and so forth. The device insight up here gives you the ability to breadcrumb these. If you want to, some people want to have that on, turn it on. Some people want to turn that off, but it does give you some great breadcrumbing capabilities to track where your employees are. When you're talking service technicians, that's an extremely powerful feature there. Because you want to know where your technicians are so that you can assign them when something comes up. You know exactly who's the closest employee that has the proper credentials to actually accomplish the task that you need to accomplish. Okay? So that's an overview of the application itself. So why partner with us and WorkMax? First of all, it's not about the money, but it's about the money. We have a very, very efficient way to get you guys paid, okay? We want to make sure that you guys are incented to get out there and work with your customers, make them happy and so forth. And so we have I'll show you the tool that we use in here. This is a brand new product just about to go out into the marketplace. We know we've got a winner here. We want to have as many people take advantage of this thing too, and you're going to be the first to the market on this thing. Of course, there's unlimited revenue potential on this thing. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It is a recurring, it is a SaaS product, so there's recurring billings, and there are, payments based upon the recurring billings. And like I said, it's recurring revenue inside of this thing. The services revenue, there's still great services revenue in there. Integrating this, making sure that it's integrated properly with your ERP systems. And very, very simple sales process and how they order this thing. And we're going to go through that a little. Easy to bundle your services on this thing. And we have a very simple partner portal for you guys to have access to. And, of course, Shannon and crew have put together some very, very powerful online marketing tools, and those are available for you as well. So let's take a look at the partner portal real quickly. What I'm going to do is I'll log out of this. I'm going to log into my partner portal. And so this is what you will see as a channel partner. So when I log into this as a channel partner, you'll see your account. You'll also be able to go in here and see all your customers, and you'll see exactly what they're how many modules they have, so that you can go back and you can monitor that and so forth. But this is where you get to set up how you distribute or how you offer, what you offer up to your customers based upon WorkMax. So your information's up here on the top. Down here on the bottom is how pricing is set. First of all, based upon what level of partner you are that you sign up with us, you'll have a WorkMax charge number down here, which means this is what our cost to you will be. This number down here, so for instance on time, you'll see the time is down here. Our cost on this is $8. If you're going on a monthly charge, if your customer buys this on a monthly, you get to sell it for $12, or in fact, whatever you want to sell it for. Because if I so choose as a channel partner to bump that up, I hit the edit button, and I'm going to make that $13. I want you to notice that $13 right there, okay? Each one of these things on the channel charge is what you get to pick as the charge price that you offer to your customers. Once you pick that and you save that, that becomes the price that now you're going to offer your customers. Now, anytime I want, I've got the ability to do what are called package offerings. So I can do inside of here, I can say, I want to go inside of here and say, I want to put a package in there that only includes time, assets, forms. I can go up here and say, I have other offers inside of this thing. And these other offers may be things like a service implementation, different things like that. We give you the ability to put 5 of those up there. Now, those are costs that we don't put margins on. The only thing we will do, because what we're doing is we're going to do all the credit card processing in the background here. The only thing we'll do is if you have a $1,500 implementation thing, all we're going to do is we're going to take the transaction charge out of that and pass 100% of the rest of it on to you. We're not taking the margins on that. We also will give you a times discount codes. Those discount codes could be based upon a World of Concrete. It could be based upon a user conference. Whatever you want to do, you can offer that. Now, once you set up all your parameters with your pricing, all this gets set up inside of here, you now have a little custom URL up here. That custom URL goes in here. And if I went to that custom URL, I'm just going to show you what it is. I'll go to this. We'll show you what that does. And based upon that $13, we just set up that $13 on that channel charge. And what you'll see is it'll come across there. You'll see that on a monthly charge, there you've got $13. Now, I want to take you back over and show you how you would integrate that, because this is the power of this is that once you set that little URL that you just got, that is specific to your company. So now I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to go into workmax.com, my website. Anytime you want, you can go to workmax.com, see exactly the full live website, very, very extensive out here, and go out to the partner page. You can see all the parameters of what it would be entailed to be a partner. As I scroll down here, all of the literature, all of the graphics and things that you see inside of here are completely yours. This is part of the online or the turnkey marketing piece. Down here on the bottom, we've created this little sample WorkMax partner page, and this is what it may look like for you. You've got Acme Advisors, all of this information. This is everything to do with a page that goes out there and says, here's everything to do with WorkMax and so forth. Now, that URL down on the bottom, there's a URL down on the bottom. I'll scroll all the way down here. It says Get Started. Behind that Get Started is that URL. So when I click on that, it's going to take me out to that little web page out there with the pricing on there and says, what pricing are we going to use? and you'll see that the $13 out there. Anytime you make changes to your pricing, the next person who logs in will see that. So on this particular parameter, if they came in here and said, I want 6 of those, I want 12 of those, I want 2 of those, I want 14 of those, I want 6 of those, they can do that. It will pick this up, and based upon 12 months, we can prepay it or we can do it on a monthly basis as well. The power of that right there, that is your custom URL. In the background, when that transaction happens and when that gets processed in the background, we send payment to your bank account so that you don't have to sit there and wait for that. So very, very powerful function inside of that. So what are the next steps for you? Well, first of all, at the end of this thing, you'll get an email from Al James. He's the Vice President of Channel Operations here. And he will send you a link to the partner inquiry form. If you've already filled it out, that's fantastic. This was a great education for you on this program. And you'll also get a recording of this presentation that you can actually take and pass this around to your other constituents in your business so that they can look at this and say, is this worthwhile investing in? And so with that, I just want to conclude this. Here's my contact information. If you have any questions whatsoever, would you please pass that on? And what we'll do at this point is, I know that there's some questions and so forth. What we'll try to do is anyone who answers those questions, we'll put a piece of paper on this thing, and you'll also get, or we'll put a document together, and we'll get those questions out to you. So, appreciate your time. Anything you want to say, Shannon?
No, thank you for your time, and in the next couple of days we'll get the recording out to everyone, and thank you for joining us.